I was eating healthy, but I don't think I was eating intentionally. You don't want to make it hard. I mean, it's food, right? And you want to have a life and you want to enjoy your life. I wish I knew when I was 20 what I know now. I've been in practice long enough where you just can't force people to do things. You just can't, period.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today's a very special episode. This is my first time recording in person with one of our Fit Vegan members, and we have Dr. Daniel with us today.
All right, welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast. I'm your show host, Maxime Sigouin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, a company that is on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and reduce their risk of chronic illnesses by 2033 and 1 million by 2050. I believe that having a fit, healthy body and mind is the foundation to living an incredible life, and this is what show will give you if you choose to listen and implement. Enjoy the episode and have a great day.
Dr. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I know this is different than being on Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah. And we'll switch to Dan. He said Dr. Daniel is very formal. But
yeah, that's right.
Just for people had to know that you were a doctor.
Yeah, well, it works.
Yeah. Yeah, so we already had you on the show to do a Fit Vegan Success Story episode. This was a little bit of a follow-up because you've been out of the program for a bit now. And I was on the East Coast of the United States. I was like, let's make it happen. We're going to go work out after this and do a workout video and just make Dan suffer a bit.
Good.
And,
bring it on.
You did a long bike workout. Yeah, you did a long bike workout yesterday. So we're not going to do legs. We'll be nice. We'll do upper body.
I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. My legs appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I do a workout with members, they just always 2 days after, they're like, I can't move. I just can't. It hurts to sit in my car. It hurts to go to the toilet. So yeah, we'll just do some upper body.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to it though. I kind of like, I like the hurt after a little bit to some extent.
Same here. You have to. If you want to be fit and stay fit, you kind of have to be addicted to that sensation of pain after.
Yeah. In a good way.
Yeah, I tell people I've been sore for the past 19 years since I started working out. I don't think there's a day that I have not been sore for the past 19 years.
That's possibly a good sign.
Yeah, as long as it's not debilitating.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to injure yourself, but you want to feel that you worked out. There you go. That's the balance.
Yeah.
At least on that point.
Yeah. I love to kind of dive into your fitness and nutrition journey before you started in the program, because I feel like for most people that had a background in when they were in high school or college, maybe they kind of played a sport or something, and then life got busy. You went to school to be a doctor and kind of all that. So what was your experience and your journey with fitness and kind of health before coming into the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. When I was young, I was never an athlete. I was the anti-athlete. I wanted to be athletic, but I was not, and played sports. I had two brothers and we were pretty rambunctious. So we were physically active and all of that, and grew up in the rural area. So we were outdoor people all the time,
Did you grow up around here?
Near here.
Okay.
Yeah. We're in the Detroit area right now. Right.
Yeah.
I was born in Detroit.
Okay.
But we grew up in a more rural area. We moved out there when I was a real young kid, about 5 years old. So we grew up with woods and, a big lot and fishing and outdoors.
4-wheeler, dirt bikes, snowmobiles.
No, we didn't do that so much. But we just were outside a lot, playing games and, baseball, pickle, things like that, so grew up pretty active, but was never athletic. And fast forward into my, got through college and med school and all of that. And I was blessed with good genetics, I think, and pretty healthy guy. But around age 40, which that's a thing I talk about with my patients all the time.
The pivotal point.
Your decline begins at age 32 to 35, unless you're working on it, And people always say, well, when I was 40, I started putting on weight and I started feeling tired all the time. Well, it started about 5 or 7 years ago and it's catching up with you now.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. Around age 40, I've got 4 sons and I was playing ball with them on the front yard. And I was like, man, I'm winded, and I thought that's not good. I know enough to know that that's not good.
Yeah.
So I started running and was blessed, just loved running, started off with 5K, did a 10K, set my sights on a half marathon, did that, and then started doing some marathons and really, really enjoyed it. It was great. It was a great time to get out and just be healthy and think and pray and all the things you don't have time for in your day-to-day existence.
Yeah.
But despite that, getting older, and around age, I'm going to say it was around age 50.
There's people, I'm sure people are shocked right now if they're watching the video. They're like, wait, Dan's older than 50?
75 years old? No, not yet.
No, 59 right now, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so around age 50, despite eating, quote, healthy, but a prototypical American diet, but tried to stay with lean meats and things like that. Not a heavy beef component. I have a strong family history of cardiovascular disease. My father, when he was 57, had already had 2 heart attacks and 2 strokes.
Wow.
And these were not good strokes. He had debilitating strokes, had what's called expressive aphasia, where you can think and you can function, but you cannot articulate speech. So except basic words that the back of his brain could bring out.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't work, and it was just really disabling for him. And so that was when he was 57. And there's other members of my family that have cardiovascular disease and high cholesterol, hyperlipidemia, things of that nature. So it was around age 50 where I said, I can't do that. I went and got my physical, and my cholesterol level was 250.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's pretty serious. So I'm doing the math. I got multiple family members who are on statins. I've got a father who had his health issues at a young age. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm a lot of bit prideful and didn't want to take medication as a recourse, even though I'm a physician.
I hear that often from physicians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I'm not opposed to using statins. I'm not opposed to medication.
Yeah.
I just think that you should address it in proper order. If I can get my cholesterol and my blood pressure and whatnot under control, with lifestyle modification, well, clearly that's a superior choice.
Yeah.
Right. So I decided I'm going to pursue that. And at the same time, a good friend of mine had mentioned, just in passing, not like, here, you should try this, kind of in passing, that they had watched this documentary on Netflix. You're probably familiar, right? Forks Over Knives. You hear that again and again. That was kind of a linchpin in a lot of people's journey.
Yeah.
So I watched that, and I thought, I can do that. I'm a, set goals and knock them down kind of guy. I'm like, well, I can try that for a while and see if it works. And so I started, it was about February of 2018, I remember. And my weight was like 173. I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
My BMI was up, my blood pressure was up, and we talked about my cholesterol was up. So in February 2018, I just overnight, just all in on plant-based eating. And by May, I had dropped 20 pounds. Nice. And my cholesterol went down to 190. I had lost 60 points off my cholesterol.
Yeah.
My LDL cholesterol, my low density lipoprotein, the bad cholesterol, as I call it, that dropped down to the normal range. My triglycerides were good. So my blood pressure came down. It was all working.
Yeah.
So that was it. I mean, that's as plain as the nose on your face, as they say, that this was a good choice.
Yeah.
It's working for me. I like it. And it was good for me mentally, as a goal-oriented person. I had set this goal and I had achieved it. So the gratification was there too.
Yeah.
And then it was witnessing to people around me too.
Yeah.
My family, my friends, my patients. So that's how I came into the plant-based eating.
So you mentioned you had a high cholesterol before you transitioned, but you're eating somewhat clean. Was it like the kind of bodybuilder type diet of like chicken, rice, and broccoli? Or was it more like more processed food or kind of some of these things?
It wasn't really a bodybuilder diet. I really didn't pay any attention to the macros.
But it was like unprocessed foods that just included meat, basically. How you were
mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even with that, you had high cholesterol.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to prove a point here for the people listening.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're not wrong about that. So
yeah. And so when you transition, you drop 20 pounds. I feel like a lot of people experience that. Did you go whole food plant-based, or did you just kind of transition with some of the fake meats? Because 2018, there was a lot of them available at that point.
Great question. And the answer is that I definitely was in on the fake meats. I would eat the Impossible Burger and some of the crumble, for your stir fries and things like that. I ate a lot of stir fries, a lot of rice, a lot of cruciferous vegetables, but I would flavor it with, the fake meats and anything that had the label vegan on it, I was okay with that. And I've obviously transitioned out of that, into another way of thinking and another way of eating. But at that time, that was getting the job done for me, and it was a good transition.
Yeah. And, they get a lot of bad rap, the fake meat. I was just at the PCRM conference, a few days ago, like flew in from there to here. But they talked about Beyond Burger and how the CEO was just like very open of like, this is not for vegans. This is for meat eaters that just want to kind of like not eat as much meat and kind of lower their cholesterol. And for some people, it is a great transitional tool. And for some people, they're just so sick that it's like, hey, let's just skip that part. Let's just go straight to whole food plant-based. And so what was that pivotal moment? I was like, okay, I'm going to stop eating the fake meat and I'm just going to go whole food plant-based, because I watched Forks Over Knife. That's the thing that made me transition as well, almost a decade ago now. And to me, I went whole food plant-based because there was no Beyond Meat didn't exist. Impossible Burger didn't exist. So I'm curious as to what was a pivotal point to, I'm going to cut out these foods and just stick to whole foods.
That's interesting, because I stayed with quote unquote vegan diet, plant-based diet from the get-go in 2018 until, I'm going to say probably a little more than a year ago, where I really made the big commitment to just eating whole food plant-based. But that pathway was that between the time that I decided to eat vegan and when I went whole food plant-based, a lot happened in the world and in my life that was stressful, with my job and some familial things that were going on. And there was a lot going on, a lot of stress, and with COVID, so during that time period, I had a period of time, I would say probably around 2022, where there was just a lot bearing down on me and my stress levels were pretty high. And I noticed that which is atypical for me, my anxiety levels started to climb. And I couldn't really figure it out, why I was having all this anxiety. And so on the advice of my doctor and some of the reading I had done, and a lot of people around me, they were like, well, it's probably your diet. It's probably you're just not getting the right nutrients in your diet. And
because you're vegan?
Because I'm vegan, right? And so they're advising me, well, you should probably at least eat a little bit of chicken, a little bit of turkey, maybe some fish. And at the time I was so busy, I thought, well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll give that a go and see if my anxiety gets better, because I don't want to walk around with anxiety. And
for sure.
With everything that I have on my plate. And so I started building back in a little bit of fish for a few months, and then it dawned on me that I didn't really feel any different. I didn't feel better, that's for sure. And I thought, no, that's not it. And so, much to the chagrin of these same people, I said, yeah, I appreciate the advice, I appreciate your care, but no, that's not for me. And I wanted to explore what I could do more efficiently and better and more effectively with my diet, because I really wasn't paying attention. I was eating healthy, but I don't think I was eating intentionally. And to me, there's a big difference in those two things. And so I was eating healthy foods, but I decided to eat intentionally. And that's when I looked into whole food plant-based eating. I started doing that. And that's actually what led me into meeting you. Was when I started eating whole food plant-based, that's when I came across the Fit Vegan program. I can't remember the moment. I wish I could for the purposes of this discussion, but I came across
probably
that.
A podcast or something.
I think it was a podcast, quite frankly. I was listening to podcasts on plant-based eating. I think that probably was it. But nevertheless, that is what connected me to the whole food plant-based program that you have. And so that took me to the next level on the whole food plant-based eating, which not only incorporated eating intentionally, right, with a purpose, without making it hard. You don't want to make it hard. I mean, it's food, right? And you want to have a life and you want to enjoy your life. So it
can't be cooking all day.
Being more accomplished in what my nutrition really was, and then coupling that with an organized exercise regimen, because up to that point I was still pretty much just running and maybe some body weight exercises, nothing with like going to the gym. And then mindset, right, which is the component. I mean, when it all comes down to it, that's the number one component.
Brings everything together. That's interesting that you went back to fish at one point in the beginning. I did one podcast on this, but it didn't get a lot of listens to it. So I'll re-mention here. Maybe a year and a half into me going vegan, I went back to eating eggs because I lost a bunch of weight for model. I lost 80 pounds for modeling, but I was just skinny fat. I was just so pudgy. We talk about being like, you feel it, you get soft if you miss a few days of workout. And I was like, well, like I went vegan so I could be skinny so I could do modeling. Like it wasn't about veganism, it was about being skinny. And so I was like, well, when I was bodybuilding, I had more protein. So I was like, well, maybe I need to eat eggs. And it was the hardest. I would gag as I was eating it because I was like, well, I guess I need more protein.
You felt you had to.
Yeah. And then at one point I was like, this is stupid. There has to be like a better way. And so, yeah, I feel like a lot of people have that little moment when they start off and they're like, well, maybe I'll feel different if I re-add something, especially if it's not for the animals at the beginning that they do it for. It's maybe for health, and then they start to not feel as great as they thought that they would feel. And then they're like, well, let me just kind of dip my toe back and see if that makes a difference. But ultimately, no one ever kind of feels better when they do that, and they kind of revert back to eating plant-based after.
Right.
Yeah. But that's interesting that you also had that little dip back to kind of test it out and be like, no, I still feel like shit. We'll just go back to what we're doing.
I'll go one step further on that, because even though I was, like I said, eating healthy and plant-based, I was also running into the problem with my exercise of exercise, get injured, then take a layoff. Exercise, get injured, then take a layoff. I'm at that age group now. And I mean, it can happen at any age group, but that's
especially when you train hard. Yeah, for sure.
But that got frustrating too. Yeah. And because a consequence of that, I'm exercising, I'm not. I'm exercising, I'm not. That plus the fake meats, and plus adding back in a little bit of the fish for a short period of time, the weight went back up.
Yeah,
I gained pretty close to all of it back that I had lost by making the transition originally.
Yeah.
So something wasn't working.
Yeah.
Right. And that's when I decided I had to change my exercise regimen and go whole food plant-based.
Yeah. And I feel like that's such it's a common path that people go on. Like, I'm going to go really hard on training and get injured or overexhausted or just be too drastic with it. And then you kind of fall off the wagon, or you get injured, or you just don't have the energy to keep going and you get anxious, you lose motivation, and you kind of regress in your progression. And then you kind of gather yourself back up and you heal and like, oh, go sprinting again, and then you hurt yourself again, and you regress again, and you're just never you're just in the same spot the whole time with like bouts of effort and then bouts of regression.
And that's pretty frustrating when you're younger and you just see continued forward progress, with very few setbacks. It's when you do run into those times where you're kind of getting setback after setback, it messes with your head a little bit too.
For sure. And I feel like the fact that you went whole food plant-based later on, I think it's so powerful because you've had so many more years of, I was feeling this way and now I can feel the difference.
Oh yeah.
Because to me, I just turned 31 just a few months ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I'm like, man, my knees hurt. And there was something that shifted in the past 6 months when I did some workouts and I woke up, I was like, I'm still sore. Why is that? This is new, like ultra sore. I was like, why am I not recovering? And then now I'm like, oh, recovery is a bit slower. Like my right knee is like starting to bug me. And I'm like, oh man, like this is starting to happen. But the thing is, if I was eating shit food and I transitioned to whole food, I would notice that shift of like, oh wow, there's a big difference. But I've been whole food plant-based for a decade. Like, I don't know how much more clean I can go to get that little burst of like, yeah, I feel better.
Cleaner.
So yeah, I feel like there's obviously for long-term health, it's better if you start younger, but I feel like there's a little perk to like transitioning when you're a little bit older, because you're like, oh wow, I've been feeling this my whole life. This is such a big difference, and it's so much more inspiring to want to continue.
Yeah. Incredibly well said. I'll back you up on that a million percent. I always tell the people around me, I wish I knew when I was 20 what I know now. And I could have lived with these choices for my whole life. But I'm grateful for the time I didn't. I'm grateful for the times now when I did eat meat and I did not exercise and I didn't really take care of myself, because I know what I felt like then. And it wasn't good. It's strange to say, I'm 59 years old and I feel healthier than when I was 40. And I do.
Well, Oh, it is true. You're super fit now.
No.
Yeah. I sent you the screenshot of our new video for our website.
Yeah.
Right. We put you on the cover of Men's Health magazine as a fit vegan.
That was funny.
Yeah. I was like, you look like you could be on the cover of Men's Health magazine right now. Yeah.
I don't know about that, but you're pretty generous. But I do feel good. I do feel healthy. And that's what I share with my patients all the time. You know, there comes a moment in a lot of people's lives, hopefully everyone's life, where you transition from, I want to work out and I want to eat well so that I'll look good. I mean, we all want to look good. I mean, I still want to look good, right? Yeah. But my health is 1,000 times more precious and important to me than looking X, Y, or Z. Yeah. You know, and I'm just happy that by living the life that I do and getting good coaching and good advice and good direction and having a supportive spouse, you know, who's there for me and pushing me along the way, dragging me sometimes, right?
Yeah, which we'll talk about later. It's one of the questions I want to bring up.
Yeah, that I'm grateful for the time when I didn't live that way because of how I feel now.
Yeah, it definitely makes you appreciate it more, and I just think it just creates such a bigger like gap between like the lows and the highs, and you can notice a difference a lot more, like in terms of your energy.
Yeah, great.
And everyone still wants to look great because we have members that are like 82 years old, 83 years old, and they're like, yeah, I don't want my joints to hurt. I want to be able to, you know, put on my sock on one foot without having to hold on to anything. But they're like, I still want my stomach and my arms to be a little bit
I'm
tired.
not knocking that. I'm not knocking that at all. I think that's just being a human, you know, and it's great. And it's a great motivator. And if that motivates you toward better and better health, hey, so be it.
Yeah. Yeah. We met a guy at PCRM conference and he was like, it's like 75, and he came to me and he was like flexing his biceps. He's like, look at those like veins sticking out. I was like, I'm 75. I'm like, God damn.
Darn right. Yeah, that's great.
So
that's how I want to be.
Yeah, it just shows to people that it is possible. Yeah. So so we talked about like you kind of going through the running, transitioning to whole food plant based. You were doing some bodyweight exercise and doing a lot of cardio. So what was the point that made you decide like, okay, I want to hire a coach. I want to bring this to the next level, basically. Because you were feeling good. You're running. You're in good shape, right? Well, compared to the majority of the people in the world, you were considered fit before you started, right? And so, what made you want to go like, I want to go to that next level?
I just felt like I had done everything that I could do on my own. Yeah. You know, I'm a pretty busy person, and that's not making excuses. I do the best I can, and I work pretty hard. And
oh, you do. This is why we're here this weekend, because next weekend you're like doing you're busy working at the hospital, right?
Yeah. So I just felt like I had hit my ceiling in terms of really doing as well as I could, and I didn't think by any stretch of the imagination that I was doing as well as I could. Yeah. And so I just, you know, I'm not an expert in fitness, and I'm not an expert in nutrition, and I'm certainly not an expert in, you know, the mindset mentality component. We can all investigate those areas on our own to a greater or lesser extent, and do, you know, varying levels of success with all of those. Yeah. But with everything else that I have on my plate in my life, I just didn't really have the expertise to excel or to go and use the right expression to the next level. Yeah. And I just wanted to regain control of my health, which I felt had at best plateaued, and in reality was beginning to decline again. Yeah. So that's what motivated me to hire a coach, which I've said before is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, you know, because it really provided a structure, a framework, a new way of looking at things, a fresh set of eyes, you know, and it was objective to looking at me. Yeah. Right. I'm so close to this. I can only have so much objectivity. Yeah. And so I can do the best that I can, but in anything that we do, if you have a coach to help you with it, you're going to perform better. You're going to see greater levels of success, whether that's with, you know, nutrition or finance or mindset, whatever, you know. So that's what led me to seeking out a coach.
Yeah. I think that's really big of you to be open to receiving help, because a lot of people that are, I say, successful like yourself are like, I know how to do it, right? Like I can do it by myself because I've accomplished all of these things. But I think a lot of people miss the aspect of, some people spend a lifetime or decades studying one specific thing, and to to think that we, with our busy schedule of having, kids and family and a full-time career, that you'll take the time to study, for example, personal training and body recomposition and nutrition for body recomposition to kind of transform.
Yeah.
Like, I do this full time. So, and then for me to try and do this full time and be like, yeah, I'm also going to be a doctor. Like, right. I wouldn't be able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about this with Ivy the other day. I was reading a book about boundaries. When you think of boundaries, you think about, I'm going to shut off my phone at 7 p.m. I'm going to stop working at this time. And when I'm, having a date night, I'll turn off my phone and kind of saying no to people when I have too much on my plate. But this guy broke it down to different types of personality, different phases of life. I was like, it's so interesting that someone will spend their entire lifetime studying one specific thing and get all the little nuances that are needed to really get the full picture of how to help people in that field. And then they put it in a book or a coaching program or a course. And you get to like purchase that lifetime of learning so that you can implement the things that will be helpful to you.
Right.
And I think that's why like having a doctor is great, having a coach is great, having a mechanic. I'm not going to go learn how to figure out my car. Like we joked before we started recording that I saw an electrician at LA Fitness. Yeah. He had his buddy was holding the YouTube video of like, okay, cut the yellow wire, connect these guys together. Most experts don't do that.
We don't do that in the operating.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, where do you cut this? How do you attach this together? But yeah, it's important to have those experts to go to, because realistically, I'm not going to learn everything I need to know to fix my car or to be a doctor or to be a dentist or to do these things. And yeah, it says a lot about the people that succeed. It says a lot about their mindset versus the people that don't. People that don't are always kind of looking to be like, no, well, I'll do it by myself. There's just so many things you can do by yourself at one point. Yeah.
And I know it's a high pressure statement to make if you don't have the proper mindset.
Yeah.
But the concept of there is no finish line, right?
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that. And or some people use the expression 1% better. You know, just there we can always do better. If you're a fit person, there's a greater level of fitness that you can achieve typically if that's healthy for you. And so we just don't have the expertise as how to reach that next level sometimes. And coaching provides you with the ability to do that in a way that you can accomplish, because they can look at you and what your needs are and where your deficiencies are, what you're doing well, what you're not doing well. Here, do this, don't do that. And oh yeah, you never thought about this, but try that. And that's what coaching does.
Yeah. I think it brings on a bigger topic. We'll dive into it. I'm curious to your take on that, because you have more life experience than I do. I think you've been quite successful in your life. Ivy and I have had this conversation about contentment in life, about like when is enough, when is big enough. Talk about bodybuilders who want to get bigger, entrepreneurs that want to make more money, people that are in fitness want to have be the fittest in the world. I feel like everyone gets to choose what's the level they stop at. So it's not because you get into body transformation that you have to do a bodybuilding competition. Like you can stop and still have, a little bit of fluff, but have a flat stomach. But if you start at 350 pounds, like that's a phenomenal transformation. That's what fit is to you. And I feel, like here's your take on like that contentment piece in different areas of life and people being okay with stopping. Because you just did a triathlon, which we'll dive into as well. But, you could be like, I want to do an Ironman. I want to do the, the whatever big 5 that Rich rolled, the 5 Ironmans in 5 days, or the Iron Cowboy, 100 Ironman in 100 days. So like kind of what is your philosophy and your take on that?
That's such a good question. I'm not sure I can articulate this very well, but
it's philosophical.
I think for me personally, I just develop an inner sense of peace. When I know where I just have an inner sense of when I am at the place that I need to be at, or I should be at. I think my faith life has a lot to do with that, and I get this inner sense of peace that comes about when things are as they should be. Balance in life, and I think if something is unbalanced, or if I'm in lack of something, I just can sense it or feel it.
It's very in tune. So you're very in tune with yourself, and kind of you have that sensation of, I feel that's tough for a lot of people.
Well, like you said, it comes with practice. I wouldn't have said that 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I'd been like, well, no, I'll feel good when I accomplish that goal.
Yeah.
When I do the triathlon, I will feel accomplished. I will feel like I've accomplished what I want to do. And like those hard stops, they're just hard to find. And they're out there for sure. But I just think it's an inner sense that I get when I think, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
I just feel peaceful.
Yeah. Before we started recording, we should have just recorded when you arrived. We had great conversations.
Yeah.
But you talked about, and we'll do your story kind of from the beginning of the program after. We're going in different orders. This is a casual conversation. You talked about after doing your triathlon, like it was harder to kind of be motivated.
Yeah.
And kind of get back into the, so you're still exercising, still making healthy decisions, but it was hard to kind of be motivated without kind of having set that next goal. And then you mentioned kind of you have new races. So does the aspect of setting a new goal once you've reached one kind of help you continue to stay motivated? Because getting to the goal, I feel like a lot of people don't say get depressed after, but they're a little bit bummed out. Like, oh, I did the triathlon. The journey that I was working towards as improving myself as a human is kind of over for this path that I've selected. Now it's like, I have become the human that is needed to do a triathlon. Then it's like, okay, well, do I choose to stay here? And is that even a thing to stay here? Because I feel like life moves forward. So if you stay here, you're kind of going backwards a little bit.
I agree.
And so, is it the pursuit of the thing? Is it important for you to kind of set a new thing to kind of continue? Or is there like do you have like a mindset trick to be like, I'm here and this is good and I don't need to set a new goal?
A mindset trick is something that I should develop. That would be very helpful, because I'm absolutely goal oriented, and so the example again of the triathlon that kept me on point for 6 months. I knew it was coming. I knew I was going to suffer, and I knew I had never been in a swimming event in my life. So I better get to that pool or to the lake and practice, or come race day, there's the potential for bad things to happen, right? So in any case, no, the goals help a lot. A great example is, I was just telling you, like you said before we started the podcast, that training for the triathlon, I trained from January until about June, and I enjoyed it. I mean, the hardest thing for me was when my personal life and work life got in the way of the training, and I had to bail on this, that, or the other exercise. That I like the exercise. It's something I really enjoy, and so when things get in the way of it, it makes me a little grumpy and a little ticked off about that. So the goals definitely help. But then after the triathlon, I did let life start getting in the way of what I would otherwise do. I would say, well, I got to prioritize my sleep. So rather than getting up at, 5 a.m. and putting the headlamp on and getting on the bike and go out on the trail, I'd use that extra hour to sleep, and that can be self-perpetuating too. I wouldn't say I lost my motivation altogether, but I started making softer compromises than I would when you're in the training mode. So between work getting super busy and some things that were going on in my personal life, the last month or so, I'd have to say, and that was coincidentally the second month after I had completed the program too. It wasn't, I think it was just pure coincidence. It wasn't because I had completed the program. Because I'm in the alumni program and I still have workouts, and I just wasn't working out at the level of intensity that I have grown accustomed to. And it didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. And so I noticed that it was just kind of dropping off. And now I'm back to, okay, we need to set a new goal. And because if I have the goal, I'm going to go hard and maintain the integrity of my workouts.
And I feel like just human loves progression in general, right? I feel like it's really hard I think that's why a lot of people kind of tend to get depressed, is they're not making progression. And my Tony Robbins coach always tells me that. It's like I jump on calls with him every 2 weeks, and I was like, how are you doing today? I was like, man, I'm awesome, crushing life. And on the days where I have my call with them, I'm like, man, this shit's hard. This is challenging. He's like, well, it's when your reality doesn't match your expectations. Because that's when you feel down.
Right.
And I was like, oh, and I can see why every time I feel down, when my reality isn't matching my expectation, I feel like we should be at that place, or I should be in this place, or these things should be happening, and they aren't. I feel like for a lot of people, like, well, I'm putting some effort towards this thing, and a lot of people don't necessarily have the structure to kind of get to that place. Like you mentioned, you brought yourself as far as you could, but there's another place that you would have wanted and have liked to be. And it was like, okay, well, that expectation and reality aren't lining up right now, and you seeked help at that point. But I feel like that's the thing that would cause a lot of people to be like, yeah, this is kind of depressing. And I think people will go one or two ways. I need to do something about it, or what's the point? It's already not working.
Right.
And so love to ask you from a patient standpoint, how do you, I don't want to say motivate a patient, but you work with people that typically will have an issue if they're coming to see you. Very rarely will you see people and be like, yeah, doc, everything's great. I'm good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So sometimes though, that's very gratifying when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how do you kind of like guide that conversation to be like, hey, certain things need to shift, and how do you like encourage them or kind of nudge them in the right direction?
Yeah. I appreciate that question, because it is something I feel really, really passionate about. I want to help people. I want them to be healthier when they come to me for their healthcare. I want to be able to have them go in the other direction when they go home, on the right trajectory toward better health and well-being.
Yeah.
And, I've been in practice long enough where I've kind of learned that you just can't force people to do things. You just can't, period. Yeah. And even scare tactics. Like for me, the cholesterol level went up to 250. Well, that scared me, with a family history. Some people, that doesn't really motivate them that same way.
Met a lot of those people.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's how they live their lives. But, what I try to do in my practice, I just try to listen to people, and I try to meet people where they're at, and then give them the skills or the opportunities to improve their health if they're going to choose to do that.
Yeah.
And so I take my time, I explain things. I do talk about nutrition. I do talk about exercise. And I'm not a personal coach. That's not what I'm doing. But I try to figure out where they are, and given where they are, what is going to be doable for them.
Yeah.
When
what's
they leave,
the next step?
Yeah. What can they do when they leave here that's practical and doable? And I try to arm them with that. And then it's up to them, and I content myself with giving them the ability to do it, or some direction.
Yeah.
And I will confess, they come to see me 3 months later or a year later, and things are dramatically different, or they're on that trajectory.
Yeah.
It's very, very gratifying. And I feel happy for them and happy for myself, because that's what I want to do for people. And the opposite is true too. When it didn't work for them, it can be a little frustrating, because you get this sense that this person has it in them to do it.
Yeah.
They just haven't found that switch yet. They haven't found that thing that can do it. And so you just continually try to arm them with what might work for them. And I think witnessing it too, a lot of my patients, I have a good rapport with, I guess I could say, and they ask me about my life and my kids and my this and that. So they know that, I like to run and things like that. And so they'll ask me about it, and say, so I'm witnessing to them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to witness to them a healthy lifestyle as a physician. I'm not just giving them advice. I'm trying to demonstrate, yes, this works, a personal testimony.
Yeah. You're leading by example, ultimately. I'll ask you a personal question. I feel like the people that have a heart to serve, that want to help people, it's very like deep in them. There's so much passion and sometimes to our detriment of wanting to serve. So when there's a patient you really want to help, and you're like, I just wish they would change, and they're going to leave and they're not going to do anything about it. And it just hurts your heart, and it like puts a heavy load on your shoulder. And then you get to do that through, many clients or many patients. How do you balance that emotional stress or strain on the heart of like, you just want to help everyone, but that you can't, or that you can't force someone to do something that they don't want to do?
I just try to remain really positive, and I live with the victories, the patients that come back, and I have a lot of them that come back and they're better and they're healthier and they've done a great job. And it makes me super proud of them. It's a funny thing. Early in my career, I would never have used the expression with, I'm so proud of you, but now that I'm older, I will preface it by saying, I know this is paternalistic, but I'm just going to say this. I'm super proud of you, and so I just try to live with the victories and the patients that I don't feel I've reached somehow. I try to figure out, okay, why did I not connect with them the last time? Why did I not see what can I do differently, with this person that might work for them? And I just try to keep on that trajectory.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that is something I struggled with for a long time. And sometimes I'm still like, oh, I just wish they did the workout. I just wish they did the meal plan, because like you see transformations like you and a lot of our other clients, I'm like, they could have that. It's like, it's readily available to them. And it's like, just if I could do the squats for you, but it wouldn't help you if I did,
I think most of the time, at least lately when I've been looking at it, it is that concept of ownership.
Yeah.
Why are they not owning it? Right.
Yeah.
And when it comes to ownership of what your goals are, now we're talking about the mentality.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think a lot of times when I've missed the mark, I perhaps have neglected this to emphasize the mentality enough, because that's just so powerful when it comes to doing, or achieving your goals. It's pivotal.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, there's a thing that brings the training and nutrition together, because you can go to someone and be like, here's the meal plan, here's the workout plan, here's exactly what you need to do. But if their head is not in a space of, again, there's no ownership. Why would I take this on? Why would I do this thing that's going to be painful and make me sweat and make my muscles ache? Right. That's the one superpower I wish I could have, is get the ability to just turn on that switch in people's brain and be like the cancer moment, but without the consequences, right? Like the diagnosis without really actually having it, and be like, oh, I feel like I need to change my life. This hurts, right? Or this potentially hurts and I need to do something about it. Yeah.
But I'll share that with patients too. I'll tell them, where believe me, I'm not all about, well, I'm so accomplished and I'm so successful. And
look at my biceps. You should listen to me.
I've run a marathon. I've done a triathlon. I mean, I don't go there. It's all about just kind of giving them the skills that they need. But the biggest thing is just trying to impart to them that, look, I've had my ups and downs too. And, but I found the thing that really helped me the most, at least in this last year or two, has been the combination of proper mindset, proper nutrition, proper rest. That's often way underlooked in our society. Is people don't sleep enough, and at least in the patient population that I have, there's a lot of, busy people, very busy people who skimp on their sleep because they have to. Or they choose to sometimes, but
if I feel like I look at a lot of the people's screen time consumption, I could find a few hours of sleep right there.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And I've been guilty of that myself,
Hey, same here on this trip. Yeah. When you enter your routine, it's tough to not be on your phone because you charge it on your nightstand in a hotel. Right. Normally it's in another room. And perfect. We would love to talk about the beginning of your journey. I'll kind of tie in some of the lessons that you've been sharing with your patients. Like, so once you started, what was the initial goal that you had when you started, and kind of how did the whole process? We signed up for a year, right? You basically did a year with us for your transformation. Like, how did that process go? Was there any speed bumps? How did you handle them?
I thought it went really well. I was very pleased with the program in every dimension. We were talking about online reviews, right? How we do that for this, that, and the other restaurant or whatever. And, this is a 5-star review for the program. I don't have rocks to throw at it, because my goal when I came in was I just wanted a better structure in my life. That was probably the overarching goal. It wasn't I needed to weigh this many pounds. It wasn't I needed to figure out how to eat better. It was, I just wanted to have better structure because my life is so chaotic. And it provided that. And if you do anything, this is if you do anything long enough, like I did the structure of the program for a year. I'm not walking away from that now, being quote unquote out of the program. That structure is part of my life now. That's it. It's just that simple. I can't even imagine not having that structure now.
Yeah.
So because it's repetition, consistency
compounds.
There we go. And so I came in with primarily looking for structure.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, I definitely wanted injury prevention.
Yeah.
Because I was sick of that. I'm working out, I'm injured. I'm working out. I wanted to see what I could do to get rid of that, because that was really getting in my way and getting inside my head.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as I said, because of the way that I was approaching my diet, my weight had crept back up. Yeah. So I was looking for mainly structure, injury prevention with the exercise, and then to bring the weight down a little bit.
Yeah.
And all three of those boxes are checked at this point, and hoping to stay that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, you have the base knowledge now,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel like that's the thing a lot of people think when they think they're going to do a program
Mm-hmm.
like ours. Like, well, hey, I'm good to go after I
Mm-hmm.
can stop doing all of these things. Like, I transform. I was like, if you stop working out and you go back to eating the way you're eating before, which is very easy to do, you're going to go back to where you were.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, like, we just embedded it in you with enough repetition.
Right.
They're like, this makes me feel good. And, we talked again off podcast about like when there's a point where you are like slower after your triathlon and maybe life is kind of starting to kind of creep back in and you're not working out as much, your body starts to feel softer. Yeah. And you like the standard of like, okay, we're getting too out of shape for my new standard now. Like, we need to kind of tighten things up. Mm-hmm. Did you find that line shifted? Because, before maybe it would have been like, oh, I go up 20 pounds to where you were before you started the program. That was the standard. But now I feel like your standard is a lot, higher in terms of like, I feel starting to get soft. I need to tighten up my nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, I had the initial transformation component of the program, which came along. I would say, for me at least, it came along pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised how quickly I felt results. I know that not everybody does. Some people it's a sprint and some people it's a marathon. I was just lucky in the sense that mine was, at least in the early going, a little bit more of a sprint. Yeah. And I felt like I had hit a level.
You're also compliant.
Well, that too, when you do it.
That's a big part.
When you do the work. So I felt that, I kind of hit my stride, and then having been in that zone for so long, now I can't even fathom going back to the weight that I was. Yeah. Because I know already if I put on just a couple of pounds right now, I don't have to jump on a scale to know. I feel it. Yeah. I mean, I can literally feel it. And so no, that mark came way down as far as being in tune with my body, because I feel healthy. Yeah. And I didn't maybe realize how I don't know if this is English, how not healthy I was, or how not healthy I felt, or how unhealthy I felt. Thank you. But with the program too, the other two things that, when you talk about the goals coming in, that surprised me, two of the things that were not my goals coming in were, I wasn't looking for a mindset change.
No one is.
Yeah. Because I thought my mindset was great. Yeah. I thought my mindset was strong. I was on point. I'm a decision maker. I'm good at sticking to things when I decide I'm going to do them. Yeah. So I didn't realize that my mindset needed that much work, and it did. That was revelatory. Yeah. So I really appreciated that component of it. And then the other thing was that I knew I wasn't good at, but I didn't expect necessarily to get out of the program, which I did, was the ability to build my meals, where I am now paying attention to macros. As I said, I was eating a lot of the fake meats and things like that because I was just trying to eat. Yeah. You're
trying to get fuel so you can move on with your life.
And now that I've learned about different ways of getting proper amounts of protein on a whole food plant-based diet, and making that just second nature, the way that you'd walk into the grocery store and buy anything, getting the protein sources and making sure that, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and my smoothie and my snack, that I'm accomplishing my protein goals for the day, which 2 years ago I would have thought, oh my gosh, who's got time for that? There's no way that I could do that. It's reflexive now, and it's just kind of automatically happens. I don't have to think about it as much as I used to, right? Because it just happens. So the mindset shift that I achieved with this program, and the ability to compose or eat my diet intentionally, like we were talking about earlier, were big things that happened in this program that I wasn't looking for, that happened anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one more thing that happened, and shout out to Coach Sarah, because the other thing that happened was realizing that perfectionism is just the enemy.
Yep.
I mean, we all know that, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a type A and a doer, and you're looking to be as perfect as you can be and try to do everything perfectly, and when you don't,
even if you're 99%, you beat yourself.
It's not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? That self-recrimination is just so deleterious to your health and your well-being and your ability and everything. So being able to abandon perfectionism in favor of doing your best, they're completely different things.
Yeah.
And I never really had it articulated that way. And that was another thing that was really helpful to me.
Yeah. I love what you said about the mindset. It just made me think of a little analogy as to how we do things. So a lot of people, they'll come in, it's like, it's black and white, right? It's like, I'm in the 100% or I'm not in it at all.
Mm-hmm.
What we teach you guys with the mindset is we're teaching you to be able to live in the gray area. Because sometimes if you're not all in the black, which would be all in,
Mm-hmm.
you're all in the white, which is not doing anything. And so if you're not doing anything, anything's better than not doing anything. And so if we can get you to live in the gray instead of the white, right? You're either all in or you're doing your best, but at least you're moving forward. Like that's what we're teaching you guys, is to live in that gray area when you're not feeling 100%. Because when it's sunny outside, you slept great, you wake up, you'll do your workout, you'll crush your nutrition. It's easy.
Got 8 hours of sleep the night before.
Yeah, you wake up sore, tired, groggy. It's raining outside. It's like, I got a stressful day. Then you're more likely to not do anything. And anything would be better than not doing anything. Right. And for the food and the protein and kind of the distribution of the meal. Yeah. Like you said earlier, it's that repetition piece, right? It's that, you heard me talk about the Karate Kid analogy? Mr. Miyagi. Yeah. Wax on, wax off. So you making your meals throughout the program and following the meal plan is wax on, wax off. And at the end, you're like, holy shit, I can block, I can strike, I can defend myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And you enjoy it. You enjoy the cooking. At first, when you're doing the meal plan and you're cooking and you're in the kitchen for hours on end, you're like, holy cow, I'm spending half my life. And, 2-3 nights a week in the kitchen. It's like, this could get old in a hurry, but you develop an efficiency and that goes away rather quickly. And as I said earlier, having a helpful, a supportive partner helps a ton. There are with my job, there are definitely days where I'm planning on coming home and I'm going to meal prep on Tuesday night to get me through the rest of the week. Yeah. Tuesday night, the schedule implosion, something happens, can't do it. My wife will do it. Yeah. And so she's a saint, she's got my back. And whereas otherwise I might not be able to accomplish what I want to accomplish because I don't have the food there for those next couple of days. Right. Yeah. Or it would be stressful or hard. And, so having a supportive partner is huge. Yeah. Well, I'm blessed to have that.
Let's talk about your wife, because we met in person for the first time in Cleveland, Ohio at the National Health Association conference. Right. I think it was like a month ago.
In June. Yeah.
In June. In June, already? Damn, we've just been traveling so much. I'm trying to keep track of everything. She was so proud of you. Like when she came to us, like, oh, he was, was doing his workout. She was so proud of you and excited for you. So how was it having her there? And just because a lot of people, their partner is your wife vegan?
No.
Okay. So perfect. Because a lot of people, their partner isn't vegan. Yeah. And so like, how did that conversation go with her of like, hey, I want to do this program. It's going to change the structure of how we cook food, how we eat throughout the day. I'm going to be doing these different types of workout. It's like, how did that conversation go with her, and kind of how was it along the journey?
It wasn't challenging at all. It was because of the fact that, to begin with, she's a healthy eater. She's health conscious. She exercises regularly. She eats a healthy diet. She does eat meats, but she's very particular in the quantity and the type of meats that she'll eat. And she does eat an unbelievable level of salads and vegetables and grilled vegetables on the grill and all that. So it really wasn't that big of a thing for her. So when I decided, well, I'm going to eat vegan, she's like, okay. I mean, it was really just that simple. It wasn't any kind of a debate or, well, how are we going to do this? We got to figure this out. Yeah. and so it was really just kind of a natural progression, which is pretty cool. I mean, I could see her having come along with that, but she's just like, no, you do your thing, and we'll see how it goes. And, so she was very supportive and helpful, it just really wasn't any kind of a difficulty for us, just because for no other reason that's the type of person she is. She's got my back. She always has. With my job, again, there's a lot of crazy hours and a lot of craziness that comes along with it, and demands that she, like rearing our children, even, there were things that fell to her that I wish I could have been there and done or helped out with more, but I couldn't. And so she's a hard worker and very self-sacrificial. So she just cares about my health and my well-being. And if that's going to work for me, she's going to support it.
Yeah. Got a good one. Picked a good one.
Yeah.
Is she from here?
Me. No, she's originally from Illinois, from the northern Chicago suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm the native. She came here because of my work.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I was driving up here with Ivy, and I was like, I wonder like how people choose where to go, because I move all the time. So the concept of staying somewhere for an extended period of time. I don't have kids yet. So I was like, I don't get it. Like, how do you pick the place where you're going to live? Just as a side note, did you notice any changes in her with you kind of transforming your body and changing your nutrition? Did you notice any changes in her in terms of like her nutrition and her fitness and her mindset?
Not too much, but I will say, I don't know if it's so much because of what I've been doing or whether our kids are grown now, because we have 4 sons and my youngest is 22. So they're grown and they're kind of off doing their own thing. And so there is more time to do things in our lives. And so I think that I've seen her in the last year. She's been exercising more and getting stronger, which is awesome. But I think she might have done that anyway. So I don't think it's really an offshoot necessarily of what I've done, as much as that's just who she is. I think it helps that I'm supportive of that, and I encourage her to go. We're both a little bit competitive too, and she'll that fun,
I get
friendly
that when I've met you guys.
So like, if I would, I'll give you an example. So if I would come home after work and dragging, and I was up early, I was an hour behind at work and I'm just dragging coming in the door, and I'm planning to go do a workout that night, and I'm just making every excuse in the book as to why not to do it. I'm like, no, I'm just, this happened. I'm not going to go. And she goes, yeah, that's right. If you're not a big enough person, you're not strong enough to go, you should take the night off. Kind of that half-handed sarcasm. So, but I do the same to her, and it's kind of like, and she does it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. I'll at least go for a run or something. And the other thing is the whole same situation, come home a little grumpy because I was working too hard. She's like, you need to go for a run. Kind of recognizing you need a little endorphin boost. You need to go. And
or else the evening will go in different directions.
So we motivate each other, and it's kind of fun. We used to go to a spot, like a workout spa together. And we would compete with each other there. It was in a friendly way. But that's part of when I started getting injured. I stopped going to that place and so she still goes and she loves it. So
that's awesome.
But we just try to support each other and love each other and try to make it fun.
I'm curious, what are like staple household meal that you guys have now since you've been in the program for a year?
That's funny you say that, because we don't.
Okay.
We have I followed the Fit Vegan Blueprint, the recipes, and she would just make her own thing. We're eating 2 different dietaries. She's doing her thing on that side of the kitchen. I'm doing my thing on this side of the kitchen, or I've got some meals that are prepped in the fridge that I'm eating. And it just works for us that way, So she likes a lot of the things that, like, what did we make yesterday? We made portobello mushroom fajitas, I think. Oh, they're so good. They're so good. She was digging that. She was loving that.
Nice.
So she'll jump on board and eat a lot of the plant-based foods, but a lot of nights it's I'm doing this and she's doing that. We're together, but kind of going our own ways nutritionally.
I'm curious, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in like all the 3 departments of transformation? So from the fitness standpoint, from the nutrition, and from the mindset standpoint, that really resonated with you and that you kind of kept at since you've been out of the program?
the fitness aspect, we'll start with that. It's kind of cliche to say it, but the consistency compounds is gospel truth.
Mm-hmm.
When you show up, you keep showing up, good things happen. So that's the take home lesson is that it's that simple. But the other thing that's kind of a corollary of that is you do need to push yourself a little bit. If you want to see improvement, you need to continue to up the weight. You need to challenge yourself a little bit. If you're not a little bit sore the next day, you can be healthy and you can stay where you are. But if you want to see progress, you got to challenge yourself. And the challenge of your body physically bleeds over into, then there's the mindset component. It helps that too, because you feel like you've actually accomplished something. You challenged yourself, you accomplished a goal. The mindsets helped with that as well, right?
Yeah. Like that momentum is being built.
Right. Yeah. So as far as the mindset goes, it's that's a really, we could talk a whole hour about that, right?
Yeah. Share your top ones, because I feel like, again, maybe I don't do enough of a good job explaining it to people before they come in, but everyone is so shocked of like, everyone says the mindset was like the biggest piece that really helped me throughout it. But no, everyone is like, oh, it's just fitness and nutrition.
Yeah. The mindset, it just spills over into all of the other areas so deeply. It's hard to pinpoint, kind of a coalesce it into one statement, but just keep showing up, just have that mindset that you have to you have to be consistent. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to pursue the good, in every area of your life, and that in terms of mindset, one of the things that I have really developed that's helped a lot is the morning meditation.
Yeah.
That time spent in the morning, and I'll confess, sometimes it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I got 3 minutes. Okay. So sometimes it's 3 minutes. That's my bad day. And other days it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of meditation. But that meditation time helps tremendously in terms of grounding you, centering you, focusing you, getting your mind out of the monkey brain into where everything's going 90 miles an hour with your plans for the day, get you into this moment. And that in my faith life, we call it the responsibility of the present moment. All you have is this moment, right? And if you get your mind into the space where you appreciate that this is the moment that matters right now, that helps. And so that morning meditation, the mindset, and that responsibility of the present moment, being present to this moment, is so pivotal in setting yourself up for the day ahead of you. That really helped a lot.
I feel it's like putting on an armor for the day, right? It's like just gearing up, and things will be able to bounce off of you more easily versus you being reactive to every little thing.
Right. I might think that this thing is important. Oh, I've got this meeting today. It's so important. It's important, but what's important is this moment right now.
And then sometimes we blow things out of proportion in our head, and we show up and it's the easiest thing. It's just a smooth conversation. It was an easy meeting and it was no big deal, but the whole day we were stressed for it.
Right. And it serves no purpose. Really. And then with the diet, I know that for a lot of people, when I was on the group calls with the Fit Vegan program, and a lot of people in the early going in the program, I know it's a common refrain that the meal prep seems to take a lot of time and it takes getting used to, and it does. But
it's a learning curve.
It's definitely a learning curve. But wow, I've never been a person to cook. I'm not that guy. I'm again 59 years old. For probably the first 50 years of my marriage. I haven't been married 50 years. I've been alive.
You were 9
for the first 25 years of my marriage. I told you my wife is pretty great. She would just do it, and make it easy for me. And in this last year or so, I've just really taken to a love of cooking. I love it. I enjoy the experience, and and getting to the point where you can just have joy in that time in the kitchen preparing food. It's out there. That is achievable. It's not all work. It's not all drudgery, and you're not slave labor in the kitchen pounding away. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. Oh, look at this
relaxing
pepper.
After a while.
I mean, I like going to the store and shopping for the vegetables. Even all of that. I enjoy the whole process, and that was a new experience for me because I never really thought to try to enjoy that. And so that's been really rewarding too.
Yeah, and I feel like it feels like a big mountain to climb for a lot of people that don't have a history of cooking or that are newer to it. But again, I love weird analogies, but you don't think about brushing your teeth every day. It's really simple. You don't think about like, I got to brush this one tooth on this side and this side and the other tooth on this side. You just brush your teeth and you kind of do it. That's what it is. At first, I got to chop the vegetables. Oh, I should have started the rice first because it takes longer to cook. Okay, I should put the sweet potatoes in the oven, and I should press the tofu. And you try to learn to time things that take longer to kind of cook your food. And eventually, like you said, when it comes to building a meal, just like cooking, it becomes second nature. Like, we're going to start with the long stuff first. Okay, we're going to start with the rice first. It takes longer. And you build your little habits because everyone has a different kitchen layout too. And I feel like that changes the game too as to kind of how people prep. Yeah.
You just described my life. That's exactly what happened.
Me too.
To a T, but it is fun. It is really fun.
Yeah. I'm the guy that would start cutting the vegetables and make a stir fry. And then at the end, I'm done. I'm like, oh man, the rice. And I look, I was like, 45 minutes to cook this thing.
I've done the same thing. Or the quinoa. Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I guess we're eating like low carb meal today. We're not waiting for the rice. You throw a sweet potato in the oven or something. But it still takes a long time. Yeah, you learn to manage your time better.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned something for the mindset, which I thought was really interesting in terms of to just show up. So I feel like every human is very similar. You probably had those moments where, like you said, you come home from work and you're stressed, and inside of you, you just have that desire to lay on the couch and just do nothing and rest because you're tired. And there's that icky feeling of, I know I should go do the workout, or I know I should eat that food versus this. And there's that decision making, okay, of like, I'm going to go do the thing and I'm going to get myself out of like that slump to go do it. What do you say to yourself? Like, what is the I'm trying to translate the feeling, but what do you say to yourself to be like, okay, I'm not going to lay on the couch. I'm going to go do this thing. Even though all of you wants to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I'm very simple. I just ask myself, who do you want to be? What is the type of person that you want to be? Do you want to be the guy who blows it off and sits on the couch? Or do you want to be the guy who grabs a dog and goes for 5,000 steps?
Yeah.
Because we've all had that day where you're super busy at work and you're you think you just got your step goal in, and you eat your dinner and you sit down on the couch to read a book or watch TV, and you look at the step count. It's like 2,000.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
And I need to get 5,000 more steps to accomplish my goal for the day to meet the rigors of the program. And who do you want to be? Do you want to compromise? Do you want to be the softer guy, or do you want to honor your commitments?
Yeah.
And so, okay, get the dog, let's go.
Yeah.
And that always feels better.
Yeah, of course.
Well, okay, that's a lie. It doesn't always feel better. Sometimes physically it doesn't feel better because then I'm tired, right?
Yeah,
but most of the time, mentally it always feels better.
Yeah.
Once in a while, physically it's like, well, I didn't get as many hours of sleep because I spent 45 minutes walking the dog when I was planning on otherwise going to bed. But you pick your poison. What am I going to compromise my exercise, or am I going to compromise my sleep? Sometimes I prioritize my sleep.
Yeah,
because I need that.
Yeah.
We all do.
Oh, I do it if I'm cranky and my brain works at like 60% the next day.
Well, and you don't, and your body doesn't achieve what you're trying to achieve if you're chronically sleep deprived either, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's one or the other, but most of the time I just try to be the person that I want to be. Right. Yeah. So for me, that's what works.
Yeah. Because once you let yourself slip once, it becomes easier to slip a second time and a third time. And then most people have been slipping for months and a year, 2 year, 3 year. And then it's that mountain to reclimb seems a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why some people don't get started again. So if you slip, try not to slip more than twice, right? To no more than 2 days in a row, and then kind of get back at it.
That's exactly what I tell my patients. I tell them, you got to give people grace, right? Bad days are going to happen.
Yeah.
And things are life is going to happen. But for the most part, if you can if you have to take this day off for whatever the reason may be, and I'll even give you, if you want to be lazy this one day, that's great.
Yeah.
Be lazy, not 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
If you can help 2 days in a row, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's a new habit.
Yeah. It's a good rule to follow. It makes it easier. It puts guidelines on it, right? Like you talked, that structure is the thing that made a difference for you. It kind of puts a structure in place.
Right.
We talked a lot about, injury prevention, you getting hurt and kind of, getting regression in some of your results. You talked earlier about pushing your workouts just a little bit more so you can kind of make that progression. People as they age, they have that fear of injury, and maybe strength training is newer to them. And so how did you navigate pushing a little bit more while staying safe? Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah. The main injury that I have dealt with has been my lower back. Yeah. It's a very common injury. Lots of people have that. And so I tried, even when I met with my coach the first time for the first session, I explicitly said that. I said, look, I'm looking to get my spine right. I want to protect my spine. I want to get stronger. I want to get healthier, but I don't want to go back into my injury cycle. I want to move away from that. And so there was a heavy emphasis in the early part of the program in the incorporation of core strength, which naturally is going to help to protect your lower spine.
Tension has to go somewhere, lower back or core.
That's right. And so I developed a lot greater strength in my core, which then permitted me to push harder in the exercise as we started along the pathway. As time went by and I was able to lift heavier and heavier weight, the emphasis on the core helped to protect the lower back. But even to this day, I mean, a year later, I don't challenge my spine. I mean, there are certain lifts that I don't, deadlifts, I wish I could do them. I would love to do them. I do not.
There's so many other exercises that you can do.
Yeah. So I know the muscles that the deadlifts are trying to work out. So I find some other way of doing that, so that's one of the cool things about the app that we use is I can substitute an exercise. Right. If I have to, and that works for me. So, So, but I just try to push a little bit here and there. And I try not to get too, I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm just trying to make incremental gains, incremental increase in the strength. And that's why I remain largely in pretty much not exclusively injury free. I'm 59. I get aches and pains and pulls and strains and
show up.
But I work around them for the time being and do what I can do. And then work on building those areas when I'm 100% healthy, which is most of the time, by the way. So I just try to push a little bit.
And there's so many different types of exercise you can do to isolate muscles that would be word. Like I don't squat really anymore. I just do leg press because I'm 6'4". My levers are really long when I'm squatting. And I was like, what's the benefit to risk reward? I was like, it's just now my legs are really strong. So I need to go heavy, but my back would not like it. I was like, hey, leg press. The back is supported. Everything is great.
Maybe that's why you can dunk now. something happened.
I can leg press a lot more than I can squat. It's allowed me to go heavier because I think I squatted like 225 pounds at one point, and I compressed my spine, and I was out for 2 weeks. We'll go on the leg press. We'll throw in like 650 pounds, bang those out for reps, and it feels a lot better on the knees a little bit, but feels a lot better on the lower back for sure. And my height helps too. It does help with dunking. So you've been out of the program for over 2 months now, just a little over 2 months. So how has life been? Because I feel like a lot of people are curious about that. Like we call it a program, we have all this structure, we have this accountability, we have the group call, the education, all of these things. How has life been post-program? How have you navigated, continuing to do the workout, handle your nutrition on your own? How has that been?
It's
terrible. The world's on fire.
Well, with the exception of, as I said, in the last month or so, I did take a little bit of a hit with my work and my stress and all that. And the exercise regimen, I'd say, took a little bit of a dip in the last month, but I know why, and I know how to course correct. And that is happening. But the diet, really what I've done is, I wish I had a number to throw at you, but the number of recipes that
we have a lot.
Yikes. I have a habit of when I was going through the program, I would, I'm a paper printer, so I print up on paper, and the recipes that I really love, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Which, by the way, is a ton of them. I mean, they're all good. I got one kryptonite, but
which was that one? We have like a taco. We have like a soba.
No, I want to like them, but I don't like beets.
No,
I've tried. I like when I saw beet smoothie on the recipe, I was like, oh no. And I made one.
Yeah, it's like a 50-50 for people on this one, but it's good. It's good for like blood flow, right?
Yeah. I that's why I want to like them, because they're so great. But all right, there are other things than beets, but but the recipes are so good. I have this habit of, I've got just a good old fashioned red pencil.
Yeah.
And I literally write favorite across the top of the paper, and I got my file.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of, my wife and I, we go through there and pick out some recipes for the week, and we make them. And then there's you can get recipes for healthy, plant-based foods all over the place now, and thank God, right?
Yeah.
And
just some of them are low in protein, though.
I watch for that, right? Yeah, you're right about that. But if it is a recipe that's low in protein, then I make it up on the next meal, or make it up with my smoothie. You know, and so I'm still hitting my macros. But so so the diet's just been kind of more of the same, to be honest with you. The regimen. It's not like it's a diet. I didn't sign up to follow a diet.
Yeah.
I signed up to follow a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And so I'm just maintaining that lifestyle. It's that simple. I mean, in the program, you have you have kind of a checklist thing. I remember my coach asking me day one, do you like checklists? And I said, oh my God, I love checklists.
Yeah.
And so I've got the checklist for the meditation and the steps and so on and so forth. And so, if I just accomplish those things,
it feels good, right?
It's a lifestyle change. It wasn't like, all right, I'm going to do this fit vegan program and I'm going to hit my goals, and in 6 months I'm just going to go back the way it was.
Yeah.
No. So it just kind of, for me at least, I can only speak to my experience, but my experience has been the changes that were made that got me to where I want to be. They were sustainable. So I'm just sustaining them. It's really that simple. The only other thing that really changed that I had to work on was my sleep.
Yeah.
With my job and everything, I wish I'd been tracking my sleep for longer than I have. I learned
because you got your Whoop now.
Yeah, the Whoop device was really helpful to me to recognize that what I really need is simple. I'm like a toddler. I need a bedtime.
Yeah.
And so if
it's so simple.
Worked with my kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So I try to enforce a bedtime now, because I get up so early.
Yeah.
And if I get to bed on time, I feel great. My recovery score is good. My heart rate variability is good. So the transition to post program for me has not been arduous or difficult or a step back in any way.
Yeah.
Even with the community, because you have a plethora of YouTube videos and podcasts that you can refer to, and
hundreds.
Yeah, literally. I mean, more than I could hope for. And I'm glad, because I refer to them all the time. It's on my checklist. That's one of my goals for the week. Is I try twice a week to listen to a full-blown Fit Vegan podcast, and twice a week to do yoga.
Yeah.
And if I fall off on anything, it's the yoga.
Yeah.
And so I listen to the podcast.
That's okay. At least you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason. If the yoga was more beneficial than the podcast, I'd probably do the yoga.
Yeah.
But I listen to them at the gym,
I
put them on the headphones and grind out my exercise, and I'm benefiting from, your guests and the things that I've learned from them and from you.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy listening to podcasts. And, so I was going to ask for post program. So basically turning it into a lifestyle. So before you were more on the endurance side, right? With you were kind of running, nutrition, you're eating somewhat healthy. Now that we've introduced strength training, like I think I know the answer to this one, but do you see the benefits of doing strength training versus just doing cardiovascular?
Yeah. There was a reason I was a runner.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And it was easy.
Did you have a dislike for strength training before you started? Or you didn't feel any type of way about it?
I didn't have a dislike, but I was that guy who in my 30s got a membership at the gym and would use it a couple of times, and then I just would run more.
Yeah.
And then I'd go back to the gym once in a while, and I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
I had other things that I liked running. I had a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
So I just stuck with running.
Yeah.
And so it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I enjoyed other things more.
Yeah.
And stuck with those. Since being in the program, however, and it's probably a combination of several factors. One is aging, and knowing that with aging, your muscle mass is declining categorically.
Yeah.
That's why little old people are little old people, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted at least maintenance of my muscle mass.
Yeah.
You know, and knew that with greater strength would come greater injury prevention. Because with running, you know, when you have a wonky lumbar spine and you like to run long distance, those two are incompatible.
Yeah, especially when you get tired, form starts to slip and you're way more likely to get injured.
So the answer to the question is, I incorporated the strength training because that's what the program required. Yeah. And there is no way I could live without it now. Yeah. I would not even consider giving up my gym membership. You know, don't tell them, they could double the price. I would still go. Yeah. You know, because it's just part of who I am now.
Yeah. We'll go use it after this. We'll do a workout.
Yeah. I might not feel that way tomorrow.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel like it's so simple, right? Like setting a bedtime, just getting to the habit of prepping your food, just slightly different proportion on the meals. Yeah. I feel like a lot of our members that are like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, again, some of them have a hard dislike on them. Mm-hmm. And some of them just felt indifferent. They love doing cardio more, running or Pilates or hiking. But every single one, when they start and they go through the initial phase of like, oh, my whole body is really sore and I'm not used to this feeling. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of feel that muscle tightness and that strength. You're like, ooh, this is addicting. Like, I like this. I want more of that. And I feel like it's a good thing to be addicted to, ultimately.
Yeah. Healthy addiction.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
And so you mentioned earlier off the podcast again that you have some races in mind. I'm curious to know what those are.
Oh, no. I said I've got some goals.
Goals. Okay. We said 100 mile, right? It's recorded. He has to do it next year.
I'm interested to see how you're going to respond to this. So I turned 60 in February.
Okay.
And so my goal is to knock out 60 pull-ups on my 60th birthday.
Yeah. Oh, you'll be able to do that for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Just I have a 50 pull-up goal, 100 push-ups, 50 pull-up goal for October. Mm-hmm. I do pull-ups every day and do push-ups every day, and it just adds up over time. That's one plan. I know you can do it. Yeah,
you can do it. Can I do it?
Oh yeah, you'll be able. You have enough time. Yeah. By the time this goes out, it'll probably be like end of September, early October. Mm-hmm. We're recording in August because I'm here now. But so you'll be like a few months away, basically, from your birthday at that point. But you'll be able to do it.
So that's goal one. Goal two is I did the sprint triathlon in June. I'd never done that before, and the first event, you never know, you're going to love it or hate it, right? Well, of course.
Got addicted.
Loved it. And so the goal is to run the same race next year, but to do the Olympic distance. Okay. So that's like February is pull-ups. June is Olympic distance try. And then just because, again, I like to run, then the fall goal is to do a half marathon.
Nice.
Yeah. So because I think the back can handle that. We'll see. So those are three for 2024. We'll have to see. We'll have to do some kind of accountability phone call. Fall of next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's I've been out of a triathlon one for a while. What's the distance for the swim on an Olympic? Is it 1.5 kilometers?
Let me think. It is,
or you can say it in miles.
I think it's 1.9, isn't it?
What's a half Ironman? Because a full Ironman is like 3 point something. So
I think it's 1.9 swim, 20K bike, and 10K run.
Okay. That's a decent. That's a decent swim.
Oh, I'm gonna drown.
Because what your sprint wasn't like 800,
500.
It was 500 meters.
Yeah. My goal this year, because it was the first time I tried it, was just don't drown. Yeah, that was goal number one.
That's a great goal.
Yeah, really good goal. I'm glad I made it.
At least make it to the bike.
I set that bar really high.
Yeah.
So
how did they do like a running start where everyone goes in at once, or did they have like groups go at a time?
It was staggered. It was really great.
Okay.
Run good. Really well.
I love groups.
It was it was a funnel and the one swimmer in the water at a time.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a huge crowd. It was just manageable enough where one guy, one woman. One guy,
and did they get you to estimate your pace so you can put yourself in line? Okay. Yeah. Because man, people that mess that up are frustrating because you end up like passing them and it's dangerous, right? Because elbows are flying, hands are flying.
Yeah. I was prepared for that. I was like, okay, I'm going to get kicked, right? Because everyone says you're going to get kicked. I didn't get kicked.
Yeah.
So I felt good about that.
Oh, I kick hard and I swim with elbows.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't want to swim near you.
Yeah. No, you don't. But I have to make my space because or else I've got pushed underwater on some of my few first races and I hate it. I was like, this is terrible. I'm going to swim big, take my space. And yeah. And I swim finished top 5% in the world for my age group when I was competing. Wow. So I was like, not trying to be a dick. I was trying to like compete. Yeah. So people like hitting elbows. It's like, I wasn't trying to hit them. I was just trying to save myself. But yeah. So you made out the water. Mm-hmm. How did you like the transition? Because that's such a little game of like, there's little hacks to speed up your times and not take too long.
That is something that there is vast room for improvement my next time out, because
did you attach your shoes to your bike so that they're parallel?
No, I'm not at that level yet.
Okay.
But the transitions, they were fine. It took longer to get ready to get on the bike than I thought
for sure.
That was
socks,
getting the
shoes.
Well, I had to take the wetsuit off because it was a full body wetsuit and I'm not cycling in a full body wetsuit. Right. So it just took a few minutes to do that, but it seemed like an eternity, because you're like trying to keep that time down and you're like, why am I just standing here? And the transition from the bike to the run was just dump the bike and go, then change my shoes. That was pretty fast. So
did you do socks or no socks?
Let me think. Did I do socks? I did socks.
Okay.
I had socks in my bike shoes. Ready to go.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because there's when you come out to swim, like as soon as, and it's tough to go from horizontal to vertical, right? You're
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You're swimming and then you're up and you're sprinting and your body's like, wow, this is really dizzying.
That's right. I did not know that that's one of the like pearls that no one ever like threw across to me.
Yeah.
And my son and his girlfriend were out where the water, I came out of the water and they said, yeah, coming out of the water, you were kind of dazed.
You look like, and then like as soon as you get up, then you start unzipping, you start removing. So by the time you get to your bike, it's just pop a leg.
Yeah.
And if you've heard of the little elastic trick for your shoes.
I don't think so.
In the back of your shoe, there's a little hook. You just attach a thin elastic to your bike frame. So they're both parallel. So you can run with your bike and your pedals are staying there, right?
Yeah.
And you can hop on the bike and put your feet over your shoes because they're parallel, so it's easier to jump in, and then pedal with your feet on top of the shoes.
Yeah.
And then once you have enough speed, then you'll put one leg to your shoe and tighten it, and you'll keep pedaling with the other foot on top of it. Once you have enough speed, you pop the other foot inside of your shoe, you tighten it, and then that's how you save time.
See, this is pro level though. I'm just like strictly amateur. This is
you should try it. It's fun.
I will. I'm sure I will because I'm that guy, right? But do I need to do that? I don't know.
It makes it easier to get on the bike because I used to put my cycling shoes and then you have to run to the line with your bike, and running with cycling shoes like running with ski boots. It's like super clunky, right? You're clapping everywhere. It's uneven. So it just makes it easier to run there. You jump on it. You can take your time, but it's easier. And how was that transition from like biking hard to now running? Like your legs are just numb for like the first few miles.
I don't know. I was actually looking forward to the run.
Really?
To be honest.
Oh,
yeah.
I hate it.
I liked to run, right? So that was like, I had to, my goal was survive the swim, enjoy the ride, the cycle, and then crush the run. That was my plan going in. And so I don't think I just don't think I thought about it. I got off the bike, put my shoes on, and I just ran. Yeah. And since that's just what I do, it just happened. I wasn't really cognitive about it.
Yeah.
But it was a blast. I loved it. It was fun. I can't wait to do it again. I'm glad I tried it. I'm glad I had Nick as my coach.
Nick is great.
Oh man. Yeah. I think I'm kind of a high maintenance client though. I really wasn't great about as much feedback as he probably would have liked, but I learned from that process too.
Yeah.
So next time I'll hire him as a coach and say, okay, here's our baseline. What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Because he was great to work with, but the whole thing was just fun.
Yeah.
You know, it was great. It was really great.
I rarely talked when Nick was training me for my races. Like I just did it. He saw my data on Training Peaks from my watch, and I was like, Nick, just build it, man. I'm busy. I'm just gonna do it. And if I miss something, just know that there's a reason for it. Like it's rare, but if I do miss something, there's a reason for it. So you just build it. And he's like, how are you feeling? I was like, I just assume I'm tired all the time, and then just build a plan, and I'll do it, and then that's it. And so I spoke to him as a friend. We would catch up. But you talk about tri-train, like, yeah, it's good. I'm just doing it. That's it. You know, I just know, just like you, that if you show up and you do the work and you trust the process, you'll be ready for the race. You'll be ready for whatever event you want. Yeah.
I agree. And Nick was born to do it. So, you know.
Man, if you have a chance to, eventually we'll do events and I'll fly Nick in for the workshops. If you have a chance to go to Vancouver Island in Victoria, that's where Nick lives, and go cycle with him. Oh my God.
I don't know if I want to do that.
At my peak shape, Nick was kicking my butt. Yeah, he was biking. He's like, okay, we'll just do like a little push on this strip. And he's like biking, and I'm sprinting on the bike. Like I'm gunning it. I'm sweating. My legs are burning. My lungs are going to explode. And I catch up to him. He's like, okay, cool, man. He's like doing good. And he's like just talking normally and breathing. I was like, I can't talk. I'm going to pass out if I talk.
He needs to lend me some of his mitochondria.
He was definitely born for it. Yeah. Awesome. Well, one last question for you.
Sure.
Any words of wisdom for the people listening? So a lot of people listening are current members, or people that are considering working with us, or like I tell everyone, you don't necessarily have to work with us. We're not for everyone. But as long as someone takes on that journey of wanting to improve themselves from a health, from a fitness standpoint, so what is words of wisdom that you'd pass on to them after having gone through this transformation that basically, I feel, kind of changed the trajectory of your health and fitness because of the addition of strength training and how you structure your nutrition now?
Yeah. The only things I would say is, number one, that if anyone's listening to the podcast and you're thinking of, signing up for this program, should I do it? Should I not do it? I'm just one guy, but this program changed my life. I've done a lot in my life. I'm 59 years old. I won't take you through that whole journey, but there's been a lot of things that have occurred in my life that have been transformative. In terms of my health and well-being, this is number one on the list. This program and whole food plant-based diet, that has been undeniably just transformed my life for the good, obviously. I'm healthier, I'm happier, and I feel like I'm positioned for the future in a way that I never was before. So if you're considering it, make the call. At least schedule the interview, right?
Yeah.
What do you call the
application call?
Yeah. Because it's worth it, and there's no greater investment you can make than in your health. And I say that as a physician. I see people all the time that spend countless dollars on this gym membership that they're not using, or, this program or this diet. And I appreciate their efforts and where their heart is and what they're looking to accomplish. That's a great step off into the right direction. But the investment in your health, there's no greater return on investment anywhere than investing in your own health. So that's my first takeaway. Second takeaway is we've said already in this show, you keep showing up. Don't be perfect and don't expect perfectionism, but follow the plan to the best of your ability. And if you do that, you will get results and get reward. And the third thing and last thing is to absolutely love yourself. Don't be selfish, but take time to love yourself. That inner voice, that person who lives inside you that you have a constant conversation with, they need to be your best friend. They need to speak to you the way that you would speak to your wife, your husband, your best friend. That inner monologue needs to be directed in the right direction as well. And so showing up, doing the work, and loving yourself are critical.
Yeah. Well, beautiful words to end on. Could say any better.
And thank you.
Right, so now we're gonna go probably maybe grab a smoothie or something. I don't know for you, but I'm hungry before the workout. We're gonna go crush an upper body workout. If you guys are listening on podcast, few things. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you get notified when we do more amazing interviews like this. If you're on YouTube, the workout video is probably already live on the channel, so you can go and check it out. So you can see Dan suffer through an upper body workout with me. If you're on audio, be sure to leave 5-star review to the podcast. If you're interested in working with us, book your call with the link below. It will be one of the top ones on there. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Dan, thank you for jumping on.
My pleasure. Thank you.